Something unusual has happened. I'm not sure whether to take it seriously or ignore it. My most recent assignment was to do a story on Christian architecture. I'm not generally a believer in the supernatural. I feel compelled to keep this diary.
Sandy, we're journalists. Come on, if there's one rule in journalism, it's always follow the dead guy.
Said she was poisoned. Local doctor never seen nothing like it.
If anyone found out I was here, if anyone knew.
I think I might be in trouble.
They're following us. And now he's dead. He's dead because he talked to me. I need you to see something. You killed him. As a future journalist, I feel compelled to keep this diary. I guess I am taking this seriously. Wait, what is that? You see that?
What is that?
So, I'm Tim. On my left, as always, is Sue. And that's where she usually works at the best. Yeah, those on the left. We are joined today by the director, creator, and the cast of the awesome internet series, Guidestones, which we got a sneak peek at, not Fan Expo, Comic-Con a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And it's just a brilliant series. So, we have Jay Ferguson, who is the director / creator.
You can't hear a wave.
Jay is waving.
He's waving. And then we've got the awesome cast. We've got Supinder, I'm going to say Rach.
It's Rach or Ratch, yeah.
Okay.
Either is fine.
And then Dan Fox.
Yeah.
Who I blame mostly for making us Facebook
Fox
friends
or
because
Fox?
you started it all. Like, he sent me a Facebook friend thing. I'm like, okay, because usually I do that, but I'll say yes.
I'll say yes. And then I got jealous, and I was like, yeah, give me my friend too.
So we're like, all right, well then if we're going to be friends, I'm going to send one to Jay and Supinder too, so take that.
Fox is your friend for sure.
Yeah.
That's it.
But yeah, no,
Friendly Fox.
thank you for finding the time to sit down and chat with us, guys.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys, it's great to have you. It was fun.
Glad
meeting
we all
you
got
guys.
together on the same day.
Yeah. No, it was really exciting when you guys came and approached us at the Fan Expo. I mean, I know it's Comic-Con, but it's run by Fan
Yeah,
Expo,
it's-
so
yeah.
you can kind of say it was great, and it was good to have you there. And then you guys put out like
That
some-
great little article. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that
I was
post
so
you did.
surprised how quick that came out. I was
We
like,
were-
oh, we just saw these guys yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we walked away from it and we literally sat down because I think we had to wait for somebody's talk. Oh, for Bruce Boxleitner's talk.
yeah.
And we just kind of sat and talked and said, we need to go home now and start watching this thing because this looks awesome.
Oh,
So
thank
yeah,
you.
just
It was pretty much like, because
Yeah.
that was like pretty much first thing in the morning. It was the first actual scheduled thing that we did.
Yeah.
And then it was like, kind of done now. I don't really need to do anything else. I just
Wow.
want to
Yeah, it
kind
was
of go
brilliant.
get involved now.
we do like to start our podcast rather informally
Okay.
with a really tough question apparently. And there's 3 of you, so this is kind of our first real round table discussion. But we like to know everybody's favorite movies.
Oh, wow.
That's right. See?
Mine are embarrassing.
These are
them?
embarrassing.
Do you know your answer?
Yeah, one of my
Go
favorite
ahead.
movies is Disney's The Little Princess.
How is that bad?
Bless.
Oh, like you're a baby. Like it should be. It's a Disney film, but I like it because they start off in India, and then it's one of those like princess turns to rags, back to princess
See?
kind of story.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put that down as
Do it.
Inspirational.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'd have to say Shawshank Redemption.
Good man.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I could be stranded on a desert island and watch that movie like over and over and over and over and over and over until I die because that movie's so good. I love that.
I love that.
You know, Morgan Freeman's got such a relaxing voice. You know, you just listen to that guy talk forever.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who still hasn't seen it, and I'm like, you have to see this movie. And she's like, I don't know if I like it. Everybody keeps talking about it, and now there's all this expectation. I'm like, no, This is a movie that
It'll meet
meets
it.
your expectations. I love
Okay.
it. It's a gorgeous
Great movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that part when he throws the rock and the poster
And the
falls
poster
down.
falls down. I love
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
In your face, evil guy.
Evil warden person.
Evil warden
Yeah.
dude. That was the best.
What about you?
Those are
Yeah,
good choices.
Jay's always put no one.
I think that it's funny, you know, because like I always feel like I've never ever been able. I've been asked that question. I've never been able to give one answer because it's like it just seems like every phase of my life there's a new
There's
one.
something
You know,
for-
there's
yeah.
something
Yeah.
fills in, and then so it's like besides the entire Stanley Kubrick canon. I think probably one of the film that really affected me the most, like not from just a personal level, but from a filmmaking level, has to be the time I saw Goodfellas for the first time.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Because my father actually took me to go see it. He'd seen it already, and he said, "You got to come and see this movie." It's not exactly like a father-son type movie, right? Anyways, he took me to see it.
Tim saw Jaws when he was
Yeah, I
3.
was 3.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
pretty
that
young
and
for
explains
Jaws,
so much, right?
actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Wow,
my
that's-
first movie.
Yeah,
ever.
that's
Wow.
pretty
Yeah.
young. That's a tough one to hit first time. Like that's scary when you're.
Well,
And he's never had a nightmare.
Yeah, and I've never had that.
I
But,
could drag it all out now.
One of the first posts that we did was like my favorite movie, so I said Jaws is bar none my favorite movie.
Wow.
And I told the story about how I saw it when I was 3. My parents had this huge discussion on whether or not they should take me to see it at the drive-in, and I don't know who argued for who, but I ended up going, and apparently I sat right there in between them in the front seat and ate it up.
Wow, that's
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah.
The
That's
way
pretty
Jaws
cool.
ate those people.
That's
up.
right. But yeah.
Well, I was a little bit older when I saw Goodfellas, but what really blew me away about that movie was that it was like this compendium of all cinema language packed into a movie. It's like how to use music perfectly, how to use editing perfectly, how
Yeah.
to use a script perfectly, how to use a voiceover perfectly, how to use acting perfectly, and how to mesh them all together into one like perfect, beautiful story, you know. And so that movie just when I remember I saw that when I was just about to go into film school, and I thought to myself, okay, I want to be a part of the business that can do that for sure.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing.
It's such a
film.
well put together film.
The other one too that always sticks out in my mind is Fast, Cheap, and Out of Control. It's a documentary by Errol Morris. That is
Slightly different.
yeah, but it's just it has actually maybe been one of the biggest influences on my cinematic style. I think actually in many ways.
I don't know that one.
Shot by
I'll have to find that
Robert
one out.
Richardson, who's an incredible cinematographer. Doesn't do many documentaries, and it's just like, but it's you got to see this movie.
Yeah.
It's-
Sounds like it's
it'll-
about the automotive industry or
Yeah,
something.
no, it's really amazing. It'll blow your mind. It's like a total exercise in esoteric, bizarre storytelling, but like it's a documentary, and it's Errol Morris, the guy who did The Fog of War.
Oh,
and-
see, that was
yeah.
an awesome flick.
Yeah, yeah. He's so.
Okay, no, that's. I will have to hunt that one down because I don't even know that one.
Oh, you
Yeah.
got to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I use the score from that for temp music and things all the time. It's so
Cool.
good. Yeah,
Very
yeah,
cool.
It's good. You
Bye,
gonna-
Sam.
See you, Sam.
Sam, listening. Are you going to say anything, Sam?
Hello, Internet.
We love you. Yeah.
Everyone's wondering at home, who is Sam?
What the hell was that? Yeah.
He's so cool.
That was Sam, one of the editors and the post-production supervisor on the project.
The other 2 films I knew, well, the other 3 films I knew, but I didn't know that one, so I'm gonna have to track that one down.
Yeah, have you seen it?
No.
Oh, you got to see it. I love it. Anyways, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it was a pretty unique method of documentary filmmaking when it came out at the time. It was like, and like I said, the guy Robert Richardson, the cinematographer, who just like a couple of months ago won Oscar, his third or something like that. It's really good. Yeah.
With an eye roll.
Yeah.
Got one for every room in the house.
Yeah.
Now, to slide back to Dan and Supinder, how did you guys get involved in just acting, not Guidestones itself, but because I think you told that story at Comic-Con.
Yeah,
but,
how we found.
yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny. We bumped into each other. I was auditioning for this student film. How many years ago?
Are you
going to
tell this story?
I might as well.
Oh God!
Oh dear.
So I bumped into. I go into this audition for this student film, and at this point in my life, I had just given myself completely over to acting, or there around. I was in the military for about 4 years, and I wasn't happy because I didn't think it was what I wanted to do in my life. So I figured I always wanted to act. I always lived deep in my imagination. When I was a kid, I was always pretending to be, Peter Sellers from Birdie Num Num and all that. I used to entertain the whole family. And I used to do, you know, a lot of really cool impressions and stuff, but I never really gave myself completely over to it until about 4 years ago when I decided I'm going to do this, treat it like a profession, get out there, take courses, do, you know, all the stuff that, you know, a good actor does. And I auditioned for the student film where I had to pick up was it South
Australian?
No, it was
South African.
South African accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that.
This is when I was in film school.
That's right, yeah.
And I was producing this film, and Dan walked in.
I walked in and I was like, okay, I got to audition for this thing now, and I introduced myself, and there was Supinder. You were reading that day, right?
Mm-hmm,
I think, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, she was reading, so we read for the role, and apparently it was down to, what did you just say? I think I got a
It was
call
you
from
and this other guy.
Yeah, it was down to me and this other guy, and they gave it to the other guy because they actually looked like each other. Whatever, but we ended up staying. Supinder and I ended up staying in touch since then. We went to acting classes together and stuff like that. And at one point, I think you were dabbling in a whole bunch of different stuff.
I still dabble in a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's we met a while back, and since then it's been a friendship.
Your company is 3 O'Clock Films.
3 O'Clock TV.
3 O'Clock TV. Sorry. Now, how did that come about?
So, my background has always been in working in very traditional media, documentaries, television, commercials, film, that kind of stuff. So that's what I've always done. And then I guess about 5 or 6 years ago, I was having coffee with a friend of mine who was way more tech savvy than I ever was at the time, and I was having making the regular complaints about how hard it is in this business and the gatekeepers and trying to get things through broadcasters and that sort of stuff, and the struggle to raise financing and all that kind of thing. And he said, "Well, what about the internet? You could make stuff for the internet." And at the time, YouTube was all of, I think, 1 year old,
Yeah.
1 year old, excuse me, and basically it was like novelty things, one-off. I was like, I don't make short films, really, it's not my genre.
Plus, you could only put up like a video for 5 minutes or something. There was like a length.
Right, yeah, and
it had
was,
to be under 10 minutes
yeah.
or something like that.
I mean, and use too. Like, I mean, people were starting to obviously watch stuff online, but like, it certainly was by no means mainstream, and nowhere near what it is now, and nowhere near what it will be 5 years from now.
Yeah.
But certainly, I thought that was a ridiculous notion, and I wasn't going to get into it. And then I thought about it more and more, and I thought, if you serialize this stuff, maybe that's a way to make it come back. And I thought about my father, who used to go see serialized movies in the movie theater, and it was like they'd come back week after week to see what happened to their hero. I thought maybe there's a business model in there possibly. So I started the company, raised a little bit of capital, did some experiments, which I've actually posted them online. So I should give you the links.
Yeah.
Like I did 3 episodes for one series, which was like a comedy, and 1 episode for another potential series that was more like a drama, and I was like experimenting in the short form cliffhanger type idea, and then I sort of did that. I spent 1 year or 2, 3 years building that, putting it together, and right about the time that I was about to go out and raise money to finance this amazing thing, it was the fall of 2008, exactly when the entire Earth's economy collapsed.
Yep.
And I'm going out looking for money for high risk venture.
Let's do this.
Yeah, idiot, right?
I tried to move to Colorado.
Yeah. Well, now,
Here I am.
yeah. Now you could move to Florida probably very cheaply, but it was like it was a rude awakening. So right around that time, I actually was introduced to Jonas Diamond here at studio at Smiling Guy Studios, where we're sitting right now. Authentic, who's the co-producers of Guidestones, and we sat down and we started talking about what we could do, and then eventually it led to Guidestones, and they have a great history of doing online stuff. They were trying to do their first series, Odd Job Jack, which they produced. It's a great animated series. 10 years ago, or maybe it's more than 10, it's 12 now or something, they originally wanted to do that as an online series. Like, that was their first thing that they tried to do, like in dial-up days. Like, they wanted to do like a series, anyways, but nobody would support them, and they went to traditional broadcast, so it was kind of funny. They were way ahead of the curve, and then they'd done a bunch of online stuff, but then when I came along, they hadn't done any original web series, and so we started putting our minds together, and Guidestones grew out of it, and that took another 3 years. So that meeting happened in this very room where we're sitting actually about 3 years ago. So yeah, so it's actually full circle right back.
That's wild. Yeah. And yeah, Guidestones really does follow that traditional 1930s kind of serialized movie where it just kind of leaves you with cliffhanger after cliffhanger after cliffhanger. And it keeps you coming back, I mean, to your inbox, because that's where it's living. But yeah, it's so...
I know, I hate when I'm at work, because I can't watch them until I get home, and I'll get like 2 within the same afternoon or something, like, son of a... But then I get home and it's like, thank goodness, because
then you can watch like
I
5
can,
in
like,
a row.
pile them up.
Delayed pleasure, right?
Yeah.
You get them all in a row, yeah.
Where did the exact story of Guidestones come from? Because, you know, if memory serves, at Fan Expo you said that some of it is almost based on a true story. And some of this I kind of look at you and go, okay, if that was happening to me, I'd be kind of creeped.
Yeah, well, some of it is based, I mean, like...
just the fact that they're actually there is kind of creepy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting, you know, I mean, like, so I was approached by... somebody told me about the Guidestones. A very good friend of mine told me about the Guidestones. He had read, there'd been an article around in 2008 on the Guidestones. There'd been this article in Wired magazine,
Yeah.
So I read this, and I was, like, totally fascinated by these things. They're hard not to be fascinated by.
They really are.
So I started doing research on them, and in my research, online, I ended up in a place where I was chatting online, which was something I've never really done much of in my life before. And then I met somebody who was local, and we ended up talking a lot, and we actually ended up meeting. And I thought that, and she had kind of a weird story to tell, and I actually remember thinking, like, I don't know, like, this person seems strange, right? Like, it's, you know, and I started looking at it, and it started to become quite compelling, her story, to me, and there seemed to be certain things that were adding up, like real things.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, maybe this is worth a documentary, because I'm a documentary filmmaker, but she wasn't interested in that. So I kind of thought, okay, that's fine, and I'll let it go. But then, as I said, at the same time, I just met Jonas and his group of people here at Authentic Smiley Guys, and we started talking about this format, and I thought, well, maybe fiction might be the best way to tell the story, you know, and maybe we could fit it into this format that we've been exploring, and so that's kind of where it came from, and I mean, I have to say, like, to be totally honest and straightforward, it's like, it's not all truth, it's obviously, I mean, I have sort of her story to go on, but obviously, like, everybody's story isn't always that compelling, but it has to be, you know, you have to use all the storytelling techniques that you can to make it interesting to an audience, but I think the spirit of the truth is there, you know, I think, and very much so in terms of some of the stuff that she told me anyways.
Well, a lot of it ends up feeling... A lot of it feels really real.
Yeah.
I mean, in the sense that, well, okay, maybe not taking pictures of ghosts per se, but just the way the story's told, the way it's presented, and then through the two of you...
Right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't
He
tell
wouldn't
me lies. What?
But the way you two portray the characters are also just... They're just real people. There's no pretensions to them. They come across as actual real people that you can get behind and believe, which is kind of why I'm on the adventure with you, because I'm like, okay, I can follow you guys. I can believe in you as people because...
Yeah, we had to act really well because in real life we're so pretentious.
But I mean, you can see in sequences where Sandy gets scared. And Trevor kind of gets freaked out a couple times too, but they keep going, and you can get behind that kind of mentality. It's like, I totally relate to what they're going through, but yeah, I want to know what's going on too. So of course I would behave the same way. So you guys as avatars, as the viewers, it totally works. And I love that ride. It's just, although there's a couple times
it was a fun ride to go on too. I
Now,
mean, like...
Sorry, please keep going. No.
Oh, well, I remember I was living in a hostel just down there, and so we would shoot, and I would walk home, and, you know, part of acting is believing. A large part of acting is believing. So, like, and I didn't know anybody at the hostel, and usually it's just me in my room, and I moved in there to get a sense of what Sandy would be going through when she moves into a new place. And I would sometimes, because they have, like, a public washroom that you use for the girls and the guys, and I would get paranoid, like... So, like, just this constantly having this feeling of somebody watching me, and part of it was a part of my brain trying to exercise that constant fear that I think sometimes we all have, all the time. But yeah, so I know what you mean about latching on to that thing, and thank you for saying that it was believable.
No, it's true. I mean, it's because you guys seem so real, which makes you buy into anything else that happens. The fact that there's kind of like you take a picture of a ghost, or you're in this freaky empty hospital, which I have to say freaked the crap out of me. The website that linked like the hospital story.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it going, and then there's this thing from the ghost hunter said blah blah blah, and I'm like, please tell me we're not going there. Please tell me we're not going there.
Yeah, that empty hospital was really like a weird place. That was the one out in Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
And freezing. It was a cold shoot.
That was I think that was our last day of shooting, wasn't it?
I think it might have been.
That was our last day of shooting, and I remember we got there, and I remember throughout the course of this, both Dan and Supinder are generally clothed in carbon clothing, which is carbon is known for their really heavy duty stuff, but we picked all the thin. So they would bring out when we were doing the wardrobe, and it was like, and they'd bring out these big coats, these Arctic coats, and I was like, no, put that aside. I like that thin shell. Yeah. And so these guys were stuck out we had a couple of in India it wasn't so bad.
In India I had that one thing, because I had the t-shirt plus that carbon, black and blue, plus I had the other one on top, and it was like one of the hottest days in India. It was like continuity.
Yeah, it didn't work out anywhere for you.
Yeah.
It looked like but when we were in Buffalo in particular, it was freezing cold, and you had those like little leather boots on, and it was like,
and they were suede and they were wet. So I had these little heat pads under my feet, but at one point I was like, I need to leave this place because I can't feel my feet.
Supinder was actually really not in a good space that day. And there was no celebration at the end of the shoots. Everybody was just cold and cranky. Buffalo will do that to you.
Yeah. I've seen Buffalo.
Yeah, it's the spirit of Buffalo.
Yeah, totally.
So, which kind of led into a question anyway, but it kind of makes sense that you didn't do it, but so you did not shoot chronologically, although it feels like it was. It really does.
It was shot very much like a traditional film, so it was really shot we tried to stay chronological within our locations or when we could, certainly, but it was it was definitely, we shot it was broken down, it was done shot in a very traditional way. So
that's awesome.
It was interesting because we shot the ending before, or close to the ending before we even went to India. Like when we did that day of pickups, we had to do another day of pickups just for some vlogs and stuff. But I felt like I knew so much more about the character and had so much to bring. There's something about shooting chronologically that really helps us actors. Then you've lived what you have said you have lived.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're not making it up.
Yeah, it's true. We actually did go back and redo a lot of Sandy's vlogs, so the vlogs that are throughout. So because there was so much, they always say that you write your film, you make your film 3 times, you write it in the script, and then you write it in the shooting, and you write it in the editing, and I really have to say that, I've always believed that to be true, but I've never seen it more so than in Guidestones. Like, this project has been, writing it was difficult because it's so complicated. Shooting it was fairly difficult, and we had to make up a lot of new stuff on set because certain things might not have worked or not worked, when we got to locations.
Yeah.
And the other thing was that, just more in terms of the interactive side of it.
Right.
The scripts are generally remain the same, but then in the editing, it was a total rewrite. Like, it was an incredibly huge rewrite. And so we had this opportunity, and we went and we shot a bunch of Supinder's voiceovers again, and it was awesome to be able to do that. Like, it was really awesome. I understand why Woody Allen, when he budgets a movie, he puts a week or 2 weeks of reshoots into the actual filmmaking process so that he can cut it. So he cuts it, and then he goes, and that and that, and then he just makes it all smooth afterwards. And it's really smart, and I thought that it was really great to do that. And then Dan has a bunch of hidden vlogs, right?
I love them.
I love them. Yeah, they're awesome, right? And
the first one was brilliant, where he's there. We'll go out and we'll solve this and we'll have pizza and...
Yeah. No, it's really...
Just go without
great.
stopping, so we'll stop for pizza.
That's great. But the nice thing about those is that they came out, they were written, shot, and performed, after we had cut the thing, basically.
Yeah.
So it was, actually, we knew everything about it. It was, a real interesting way to go about it, and I think that, I mean, it's hard to do that because when you're retrofitting at any time, it can be a total disaster potentially.
Yeah.
But I actually think that it's kind of a neat way to do it in many ways.
Yeah, it was really interesting from my perspective as well, because like Supinder said, I knew a lot more about the character when we shot.
Yeah.
You know, and it was very challenging because there was about 5 different vlogs that I had to shoot in a matter of about a day or two. And it was a lot of work, but I think
It was 7.
Was it 7?
Wow.
It was 7, and we did them in like 2 days, was it? Or was it? Yeah.
Yeah, something
And they're
like that.
meaty blogs. It's like they're pretty big, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, just but the
Or
fact
vlogs.
that I is it vlogs or blogs?
Vlogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Video
terrible. I
vlogs.
never get it
Yes.
right.
Yeah, but it was great though, just because it was I'd known about Trevor so much more so, and actually we had some time off, so I took some classes, which I needed.
You learned how to act.
I learned how to act because I had a lot of Jay actually, I think one of his main notes to me throughout the series was he cut. Dan, can you do that again but not suck? I think that was one of his main ones that he gave me. But it was great going back to it, and like Supinder said, just knowing more about the character and being able to bring more out was really rewarding.
Useful, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that you? Because I was
Somebody's
like, my
phone
series.
is talking.
Something did something. Now it really is though. It's a global adventure. I mean, you guys start here in Toronto, which is awesome because I love seeing hometown stuff. Well, it's not even my hometown, but
I know, right?
Look, I know where that is. I know
Where are
where
you
that is.
from?
Oh, I'm a child of the planet. I grew up all over. I'm an
Army
Air Force brat.
Got it, yeah.
Okay.
So I grew up everywhere. But yeah, it's just like, oh, I love that. And then you expand it to oddly enough, Collingwood, which was really weird because she was like really close to Collingwood, and it just
Collingwood was
everything. The more I watched this, just from a personal standpoint, a lot of it ended up getting really close to home. I'm like, Collingwood, that's
I know.
Sue, and then
It's like Maynard
it's
Glass.
yeah,
Like,
Maynard
that's my
Glass.
last name. Collingwood. You're
Yeah.
on Terrace Street. Okay, so you're close to my mom and brother.
Yeah,
Weird.
it was really starting to freak
There
me
you
out.
go.
I'm like, have they tapped my brain? What's going on? It was really freaky.
How
but it just
interactive is this?
Yeah. But it totally added to the experience. But then, yeah, you guys go to Georgia to see the Guidestones themselves, which had to be a little creepy.
Oh,
I mean,
Yeah.
I've looked at them. I knew about the Guidestones before the series came along, but I didn't know tons about them. So as soon as I left Comic-Con that day, I totally typed stuff in, researched more, and then wrote the article. Just to even walk in that area, that's just got to be...
And it was a dark,
Yeah.
overcast kind of day.
It's got to have
We
a
went.
creepy vibe to it, yeah.
it was pretty eerie.
Yeah.
And I mean, the day that we shot there was, it's a pretty eerie vibe the whole day. But the day after, it snowed. In like the southern United
Oh,
States.
yeah.
It's like,
What's
like,
going on there?
It was like, what's that called? Pathetic foreshadowing or something?
Yeah.
In the-
Creepy?
Yeah,
Creepy
exactly.
is a good word, yeah.
Yeah,
But,
and then it just blew me away because didn't blow me away. It just creeped me out more because it was one of the hidden websites where it's got all these surveillance cameras that have been watching you guys, and one of them's at the Guidestones locations. I'm going, that is just so creepy. I was just totally freaking out. Yeah, it's so well put together, and it was Vlad who put all this together.
Vlad and Joel, yeah.
Yeah.
So like for instance, that site you're talking about, the one with the links to the video surveillance. So that those actually Sam, who was here earlier and just left, the one who said hi.
To the internet.
Yeah, he actually cut those 4 pieces of video. Vlad designed the layout of them and how they would fit together, and Joel, I think, did some animation on there, and then they were made into a website. But it's like it's pretty awesome. Like, and these guys were amazing because actually, and I'm glad you bring them up because like one of the reasons why it took so long to post this thing is because of all the intense interactivity.
Yeah.
And so it would be like, okay, I need a site. Like it would be literally, I'd be running down the hall to Vlad, and I'd be saying, okay, Vlad, I need a surveillance website, for 4 pieces of video. Sam, get us those 4 pieces of. And it was like, and they'd be putting it, and then it would be kicked over to Joel, and then these guys would be turning stuff over in the day. You know what I mean? Like, and
Wow.
and it was like really incredible because because it was all stuff that none of us had really done before.
Mhm.
It was like essentially on demand, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of it we knew what we needed, but
Yeah.
it was like it would just get kicked around here. It was like this copy has to go here, and then we would find maybe an error or something, and something that we had devised but didn't jive anymore for whatever reasons, and they were making revisions. And Joel spent a lot of time, you know, just like we see a lot of devices and websites and stuff like that, and so there were certain things that couldn't be seen, and
Yeah.
so we would shoot them, and then Joel would go in and he would like do this incredible like revisions on it, like he would like make the phone say things that they didn't actually say, and like yeah, it was like amazing. Or like if we'd say we were shooting in one place in India where there was people, and it was probably, I mean, it didn't matter, they were kind of in the distance in the background, but there were people, and Joel had to do some work on the shot, and without even, and we didn't even ask him, but he removed all the people from the shot.
Wow.
And it was like, oh, by the way, I took out the people from the shot, and it was like, wow, and it made it such a better shot, you know, but he just took them out. I don't know how you do that exactly.
It's that population control.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Joel can cure all the ills.
actually Joel made the Guidestones.
Yeah.
That's
All
that's
coming
it. They don't
together,
actually
yeah.
exist. And the Guidestones are incredibly bizarre.
That's
thing.
yeah. I mean, I read them, and then people get in such an uproar about them too.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I'm like, I literally read it much like is kind of presented as a post-apocalyptic kind of thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this totally makes sense. You know, after something terrible happens, that these rules will be, you know, really good for the human race, basically. I'm like,
After we're already under
yeah.
500,000 people are.
yeah, it obviously doesn't apply now, but people are thinking, well, who's going to kill these people? And this is the 1%. And I'm like, no.
You know, there's an interesting thing that popped up actually. There was a woman at Comic-Con who signed up at the con, and she has started this initiative on Facebook, and I can't remember what it's called, but there's a con in Atlanta, right? A really big one. I think it's called Dragon Con.
Dragon Con, yeah.
So she's gonna go down to that, and she's started a Facebook
awesome.
page where anybody who wants to join her after the con, they're gonna go out and visit
Oh,
The
the
Guidestones.
Guidestones. 'Cause
That's
it's only
awesome.
like about an hour and a half or
Yeah.
2 hours away.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mentioned this to Raymond Wiley. I don't know if you know who Raymond Wiley is.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called The Georgia Guidestones.
Okay, yeah, the one
And-
you guys had at your table.
That's right, yeah, and he's like a sort of an authority on the Georgia Guidestones. So I've been in touch with him lately, and he said that if they can get like upwards to 12 people who'll go, he'll take them out there.
Oh
So it
my
would be like a
God.
tour, and he's also looking into potentially having a Guidestones panel down there.
That's
and,
cool.
and if there is, and we'll go down and be on the panel, but it
Yeah.
might
Yeah.
be nice. So if this all comes together and enough people join this page and want to go out, then hopefully we'll be down there as well too.
Neato.
That would
And
be
we can
awesome.
kind of have a big,
Yeah.
all of us can go out with a whole group of people out to the Guidestones, which I think would be really fun.
That would be pretty sweet.
really
Yeah.
fun, yeah. So you guys have to come down.
Oh, yes.
Let's go at night.
Spare change.
Yeah.
that would be
Oh,
fantastic.
at night would
yeah.
be really creepy. Save us the flashlight. Oh, geez. Yeah, that was
Let's
creepy
take
to
it apart.
shoot.
It was
Like that was
Yeah.
because there's no lights out there, so all we
Yeah,
had was
it's
our
like
car
the middle
lights.
of nowhere.
Yeah, it was creepy.
The heebies and the jeebies. Oh, yeah. You got to go to India as well.
Yeah,
Which
India was
looks
glass.
gorgeous. The way it's shot, it looks. You can tell it's a busy place. But I started watching since you mentioned them at Comic-Con. There were 2 moments for Trevor I was looking out for where you're talking about. There's a scene where a cat walks by and you reach down and pet it.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh yeah, look, you talking about
Yeah.
that. And the fact that everybody, well, maybe not everybody in India. That doesn't sound right at all. But that there seems to be like no real privacy because even watching the shots, everybody's watching you. Like they're all just standing right there, just watching you. I'm like,
And that'll happen to you in India even if you don't have a camera or
Yeah.
like if you
You're
are
shooting it
of
on
a
a point and
different
shoot.
skin color. No, even if you're a different skin color, they'll stare at you. I
Yeah.
mean, Dan, you probably got it when you
I
went out
got
on your
it
own.
all the
Wow.
time. It was like I had no idea. Like total culture shock. I get there and they have no qualms about staring at people because I'm riding on the subway in Toronto.
Yeah.
And you catch somebody's glance, you immediately look
Yeah,
away.
it's
You
just-
scratch your head. You're like, okay, well,
I
we
wasn't
didn't just
looking
make
there.
eye contact. But I mean, in India, people would just come up to me. They'd be like 2 feet away, and they would just stare. They would just come up to me and they would just stare
oh,
like
man.
this.
Just like that. Yeah.
Just like that, with like no expression on their face. right? And I would just kind of look at them, and I would try to, they smile or
Oh,
engage them in
yeah.
some way. Then nope, nothing. They just like still blank stare. They just like take me in,
You're
look at my hair,
staring
look at my
with a sign of
eyes,
aggression.
And I didn't know
It's
how
not
to.
aggression, it's just curiosity.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
all it is, yeah. And the
And
same
it
thing
was-
with the people watching us. Sorry, Dan, to cut you off. It's
Yeah.
just curiosity about what are they doing?
Yeah.
I find Dan, I can't stop staring.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know.
Sometimes I can't stop staring at myself in the mirror.
I lose more days that way.
way.
You're as horrified as I am.
Very scary. It's creepier than the Guidestones, I'll tell you.
When I was in teachers college, one of the women that was another student teacher with me, I don't even remember what we were supposed to be talking about, but she ended up saying that I think she was from India actually, but she was saying that she'd grown up there, spent her whole life there, and it wasn't until she came to North America that she ever saw someone with blue eyes. So then she was just staring at everybody with blue eyes because it was something new. And she's like, I feel bad because I'm staring, but at the same time,
I can't stop
I
looking.
can't stop. Yeah. And I was like sitting there with like giant eyes across the table from her, and I'm like, you're staring at me right now.
Yeah.
Stop
She's
it.
like, I still do it.
I don't even want to be in this group anymore.
Well, it's been interesting for Supinder too, because you can actually understand their language. So when they're actually talking about what's going on, she can understand something.
Yeah, and they were talking about us all the time. Or talking right to me.
Yeah, you
you were
talking
saying
about that.
when
Yeah.
you're
There was-
being shouted at. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been uncomfortable.
I just got a lot of
And
dates.
no, but it wasn't uncomfortable. So the story is, for those listening at home, we're running through the alleys, and these guys are taping me, and there's somebody chasing me, and there's all these men that are working in the market that are like, they say the line is, "Arey baby, mere baho mein bago," and it means, "Hey baby, why don't you run into my arms?" Because they keep seeing me running down the same alley over and over again, right? And
Does that work for you?
no, it didn't. I should have told him. That doesn't work. But
I keep running by.
but it wasn't uncomfortable because I felt safe. I mean, I had these guys around me. It was uncomfortable in the fact that I'm an actor. I should be able to say it.
Actually, let me say, it's like both of these guys have impeccable ability to remain in character, actually, and it's like, and they're both really talented people and easy to work with in terms of like from performance standpoint for sure. And we were shooting this one day with Supinder, and it was like she's like coming out of a very dramatic situation, the scene that we're going into. And she was like smiling, and I was like, and she was smiling, and it was like we were doing takes, and she was smiling in this crowded marketplace, and I was getting a bit like,
Why are you smiling?
yeah, I was like, and I never like whatever. I wasn't like, I'm not the kind of person that gets upset or anything like that, but it was like, it was a hard place to shoot, and like, I just took her aside. I said, "What's going on? Like, you're coming out of this very dramatic situation, like the scene, we probably hadn't shot it yet, but it was like, this is what's happening, like, why are you smiling?" She goes, "These guys, they keep saying these things to me." And it was like, oh, okay, I get it now, Okay, but then after that,
she's lost her mind.
yeah, but then right away you were able to like snap out of it, and you went, I remember you took a second and you came back and you were like devastated back to, but it was pretty funny because I remember thinking like, why does she keep laughing? That's not that I just don't see where that fits in with the character arc.
That's not the right choice.
It's a choice.
Yeah, she's.
Now, to get on a technical side of it, because not everybody knows this, but it was all shot on DSLR.
That's right. Yeah.
Which boggles, because it looks like a film. I mean, and not to detract from the fact that it is a film, but it looks filmatic, I guess.
Yeah.
Cinematic is the word I'm looking for. It looks gorgeous. Everything it's got a real feel to it, and it looks fantastic. And we talked about that when we saw a little Canadian movie called Moon Point, which was also shot completely
I've seen
on
Moon Point.
DSLR. And it looks gorgeous. I mean,
Another guy that was there at Comic-Con, Christian Potenza, I think is in Moon
Right.
Point. Yeah.
Yes.
so, I mean, was there any problem shooting on DSLR at all, or?
I discovered the DSLR, like whatever, I guess about a few years ago. I shot with one for the very first time probably about a year before we shot Guidestones. So I've worked as a cinematographer for many years, and so back in the day when I first started shooting, it was like you shot on 35 or 60 millimeter film, and with big, heavy, expensive equipment, and then then video was never very good,
No.
and we always sort of stuck to film, and I would even shoot documentaries up until just a few years ago. I'd shoot them on film because I was never happy, and then in HD, and sort of some stuff started getting better for certain reasons, and then the SLRs came out, and I kind of didn't pay a lot of attention until somebody had one and showed it to me, and I thought I'd shoot some tests with it, and I was blown away by what you could do with it, and so it seemed like really the logical choice to shoot Guidestones with it. One, because we were pretty low budget. Two, I knew that we would be going into a lot of places where we wanted to be low profile, and three, I just think it's like it really achieves an amazing look, and it's just like I can't say anything more than what everybody knows about SLRs. It gives you this beautiful shallow depth of field. You can shoot with long lenses, and it really can look spectacular. And so I've always been a fan of long lenses, but these things can really do it. And so I just think it's like between myself, because I co-shot it with a friend of mine, Rob Barnett, who's an amazing cinematographer, and it was like we would literally go into a scene, usually be the two of us, we'd light it, and then we would both shoot it. And so it was like we had two eyes on it, and we would just kind of like, and it was like great. And so there was a lot of, like, while it was shot very rough and quick, it was done really, really deliberately. Like it was, everything was, well, not everything, but I mean, there's enough experience, I think, between Rob and myself to know how to shoot something. Like, if you wouldn't have to light it if you shot it over there. You know what I mean? It's like where there's like beautiful light coming in from over there, and we can shoot it through there, and the SLRs are just amazing. And then and the fact is too, and this is another thing I think it's important to know about this, is that this is such a sort of a DIY project in many ways, because it was like we shot it on SLRs, so like what, 10 grand worth of equipment? Not even like 6 grand worth of equipment. Say 10, the upper edge, and then the whole thing was cut on laptops.
That's insane.
You know what I mean? And it was a lot of media, and the laptops ended up becoming quite slow at the end, but render times were brutal, and I was, dying for something beefier. But the fact is that the whole thing was really created on, like, if you spent $15,000 or $20,000, you could have all the equipment that we used to shoot and make Guidestones. So I really love that about it. Like, it's really, to me, it was like a real chance. Like, I'm super proud of what it is. Like, it's, in terms of the technical side of it, definitely. I mean, the content side and everything else, the performance is like spectacular, I think. But in terms of just the technical side, it's like good. And it's holding up. Like, I mean, we shot it to be online. I mean, we didn't shoot it to be online. Thinking it was going to end up being online, which is where it is. But we've had a couple of screenings where we've put it on larger screens, and it looks really great.
Well,
like,
even when you guys saw it, it was on a larger screen.
And that was like not even a great projector, but we've like I have yet to actually put it through a really good projector, and like, it's amazing. Even we watched it at what movie theater was it on Roncesvalles?
The one Roncesvalles.
Oh, the Review. Yeah.
Review,
so that's right around the corner.
Yeah, well, so we screened. There was which was the festival that it was?
Filmy, the South Asian Film Festival.
Oh, right.
So we showed a couple of episodes there, like way back in the day.
And actually, we're going to be at Real World.
Cool.
I think on the 14th. I'm not sure at 2:30, but if you look on there. If you check out their website, Real World's website, you'll see.
We're at that Wizard World thing that weekend.
Oh, right.
Yeah, everything's the 14th. Well,
sorry, guys. I have a meeting at 8:30.
Okay.
So I've got to get
then
going. Yeah.
Before you go.
Yes, for sure.
Your favorite moment for Sandy?
Favorite moment for Sandy? Oh. I remember, and I don't know actually if this made it into the cut. I don't think it did, but my favorite moment for Sandy... And also, I think my favorite moment for me was we were shooting. It was in India, because there's some stuff I can't say. It was in India, and we shot this scene on top of this rooftop cafe, where she's just sitting. She's just sitting, and she's reading the newspaper, and she's just reflecting on her journey, and. Yeah, it's just one moment where the characters finally finds just a little piece.
So he's cut it out.
Couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It was too much
Slowing us
peas.
down.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my favorite moment for Sandy.
That was because you got to sit in a cafe.
On a rooftop
relax.
cafe.
Yeah.
And all I did was have to read the newspaper, and I was being filmed. So it was the best of both worlds, you know.
Excellent.
Yeah. But thank you
No,
so
Shakunda,
much,
thanks
guys.
for
And I'm
coming
sorry I have to leave it like this. But if you have any other questions,
Of course.
you can reach me by
We're
email
Facebook
or
friends.
Facebook friends. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm really bad. I hope that I've clicked accept. I think I have.
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. All right.
Perfect. All right.
Okay. I love you guys.
Bye.
Mwah.
Okay, have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Come on.
Bye. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, guys.
See you.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh. Go, I'll
That
get
was
it.
yours to begin with.
No, it's fine. Okay, you throw them out though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, then,
Bye,
while we're
guys.
talking about favorite moments, then, what was your favorite moment for Trevor?
Oh man, there's so many. I really, it's hard to kind of narrow it down. I think one of my favorite moments for Trevor was the vlog that I sent to Sandy after she left the hotel.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I think for Trevor, he actually starts to give over to his feelings for Sandy because he's growing attached to her.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some compassion, like underneath all that snide, kind of snarky.
He cares.
Yeah, he does care deeply about Sandy. So I think that's one of my favorite moments for Trevor.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just so well put together. I love it.
It really is.
Although, I gotta say, I'm on episode 32, and I don't see how we can wrap everything up in like 50-ish episodes. I'm just saying, I don't see it happening. It's just, it's, wow. I'm just...
Can I, it's funny, I was thinking of, there's one of my favorite, actually I have a couple of favorite Trevor moments, and they're both, well, there's this one great moment that he does that I love. I mean, he has so many great moments actually. Like episode 1 always gets me when he's doing his, when he says, it's the geezer, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, it's the
Wait a
geezer.
minute.
With like such, with no, like, it's almost
so blasé.
Yeah, it's like so and it's not snide. It's not. It's just like kind of like, hey, look, it's the you know, like it's his character.
He
But-
found something to get excited about.
Yeah. But there's this moment that I love so much, and it's it's just outside of Savannah, Georgia. It's on the beach, and there's a scene under a pier, and they go to this pier,
Yeah.
and they're looking
Yeah.
at something, and she says something, and she says it's the things were made by so and so, and he has this reaction, and it's actually just a shot of the back of Dan's head, and he just does this kind of, that.
You know, what you just did there, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah.
He just does this recognition thing,
Yeah.
which is like awesome moment. It's like
I didn't even go to acting school for that.
yeah. It was really good though. I
like
saw
it.
it right away. But actually, and you do that a few times throughout the series. There's a really great time. There's a great scene when they first get to India, and they right after they get
Sandy's dad.
yeah, Sandy's father, and then there's a scene in the kitchen where and it's in India when things get much more emotional. And that performance in that kitchen is just so spectacular.
nice
I love it. And just between both of them is so good. I mean, the chemistry between them. Is
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you can tell that they get along and that they're friends. It really comes across on the screen.
like and the more I think about it, it's like the favorite moments just keep popping up. It's like I have to say, like we figured out in the post. It took us about a year to post this thing, and so there's 50 episodes. So we spent about a week in total per episode. So imagine we spent cumulatively one entire week on every 3 minutes of this show, right? Like going over it again and again and again, and I had to watch it. Like I've watched this thing. Like it's like anybody who's making anything, but this one we had to do so many extra revisions because of the technical stuff.
Yeah.
It was like we would lock the episode and then spend another month going over it again and again and again, But it was like I never grew tired of their performances. Like I never once said, "Oh, gee, I have to do this episode again," or "Oh, gee, I have to sit through this scene again." It was like the second they started, it's like it was amazing. Like this, like every time. I mean, sometimes I would certainly groan and go, "Oh, I can't believe I have to watch 1 to 15 again." But like the second I start watching them, I'm like, sink right back in because these guys really take you.
Yeah,
on the
they're
trip.
Yes, I think one of the best things between the dynamic between Trevor and Sandy was the opposites between them because they're so different.
The whole
they come
cricket
from
baseball
different-
thing I love.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was in the script, so I mean. And that's with Supinder and I a lot of the time, like our approach to acting, like we're both hard workers, but we have a very different approach when it comes to the actual work itself. I'm very sort of laid back, and I'll just you know, but
follow the dead guy.
Follow the dead guy, right? You know, it happens. Come on. And she's very focused and driven, and in between that, like it showed up in our characters just naturally, which I found was great, and it was brilliant casting on Jay's end. You know, I think one of my other favorite moments too with Trevor was the cat. Remember when I was telling you about the cat?
Just bend down, give him a stroke.
We were in front of that church in Savannah, and that cat I came up in front of me, and I knew you guys were shooting, and I knew that I was like, oh, it's an animal, and I know it's totally gonna steal the scene. What am I gonna do? Are you gonna call cut? I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna acknowledge it, pet it, and then carry on. And I was like, I wonder if they're gonna use the cat take, because we did that take a few times, and then I was telling Tom about it as he was working on it in the editing suite, and he's like, yeah, I totally saw that cat take. That was awesome. Yeah, you should totally use it. So I think he had like a little say in kind of getting the cat. The cat's famous now, but it was such a beautiful day that day, and that cat was like a godsend. It just came in, and it was just it was perfect, and it just let me pet it, and it was. That was another one of my favorite moments, I think.
No, I think Sue's kind of pointed out my favorite moment a couple of times where it's where Sandy goes, "Did you learn anything?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm not as brave as I thought I was."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just the delivery on that is just so deadpan and so quiet. I'm like, yeah, that's why Trevor's the guy right there.
You know what?
Even
It's
just
funny.
from saying yeah, she's like, yeah. And I'm like, what's he gonna say? What did he learn? Learn I'm not as brave as I thought I was.
It's awesome.
It's actually I agree with you. I really love that
That's
line,
a
that delivery
great bit,
too.
yeah.
And it's like it was actually I think that was my direction to Dan was like, give me your best Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Very nice.
Which I think it really
I
is.
remember I did it a couple different ways, and then you gave me that line and the direct, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, like. Yeah, I saw more clear, like a whole other door of Trevor open up. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can. Yeah, okay, heroic lead sort of cracking the Indiana kind of thing, and take the fall. And you also gave me that direct as well when the door was in India.
Oh
yeah.
Where are we gonna find it now?
Yeah, I was thinking Indiana Jones right there.
Yeah.
Right? You said the Indiana Jones again.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny how that's a directing method.
Yeah, more Indiana Jones. Yeah. Now, I've got another technical question, then we can probably start to kind of wrap things up. And it was I just needed to know for my own personal edification, there's a shot in one of the early single-digit episodes that is either in Collingwood or I can't remember where, but it looks like it's a crane shot.
Oh yeah.
I knew that was the shot you asked about. It's of the post office in Collingwood.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's actually not a crane shot. It's actually from a radio-controlled helicopter.
No way.
Awesome.
That is so cool.
So we actually had one of the guys who works in the studio here is like a huge fan of RC. And so he had said to me when we were developing the project, he said, oh, like, I can probably get a pretty inexpensive, helicopter, and we could try and do some helicopter shots. So he got this little helicopter and we bought a GoPro.
Mm-hmm.
And GoPros are really common now, but like 3 years ago they were sort of just new.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of them, and he found them out, and so he had rigged this little RC helicopter with the GoPro underneath it. And we went out and he came up to Collingwood and we did that shot, which made the cut, it's a great shot. And we were gonna do more. I was actually really excited by this possibility, but we didn't know
everything.
Yeah. I really did want to do much more with it, but it was like the helicopter that we had wasn't really as controllable as we were hoping. Like you could, like, not in the tight spaces that I was envisioning. Now there are helicopters.
Oh yeah.
That you can do amazing things with now, but they're quite expensive and they're hard to come by. So we tried to do this. So we actually experimented with it. It was funny though. So he came and he did that shot, and we got the shot, and we were like, okay, that's great. It was a good establishing shot. And then we were going to do another shot, and the thing is that these things are pretty finicky, right? And
it was a bit windy that day too.
Yeah. Like that's the other thing is that there's a little bit of wind, and we were shooting in the winter, and so it was, and we were in very public places, and so we were very worried about something happening and whatever. So, anyways, 10 minutes after we did that shot, it was we were there. We were on the main street of here, Ontario, in Collingwood, and the helicopter was sitting on the thing, and he went to go get a new something for it, and I was just standing there with Drew Somerville, who's the guy who plays Drill, the guy who's sort of the mysterious man, and so we were both standing there, and suddenly the helicopter started flying, and we were like looking at each other, going like, "What's going on?" And Drew was actually holding the remote control because Brad did hold on to this. I'm gonna go grab something.
Oh no!
And he's like, "I'm not doing anything," and I'm like, "What?" And this thing, and so sometimes these things can pick up stray frequencies.
Oh no!
And they'll start to fly on their own. And the thing went, and it just went, and then we're like, "What?" And it's just hovering above us, and we're like, "What's going on?" And then it just goes. Wonk! And it flips over and just smashes in the middle of the road, and it was just, and Brad came running back, and it was like, "What happened?" And we're like, "Well, I swear to God, I didn't do anything." Looking terribly guilty, and
he's got the remote in his hand.
Yeah, he's got the remote. So we picked the thing up, and it was like pretty toast, and we thought, well. We got our one aerial shot.
Yeah, and it looks great. Cause I'm sitting there going, I know they shot on DSLR. How the hell did they get this?
Yeah, I was done with a GoPro.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Actually, there's a whole bunch of GoPro stuff throughout it. So a lot of the surveillance stuff, the really wide-angle stuff, it's all shot. So we would shoot the scenes, and then we would just stick the GoPro in different places and either do a quick run through the scene or even keep it running during the filming. So we were always...
That's sweet.
We always wanted to have that sense of surveillance.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, in terms of your response, what have you guys found so far? I mean,
response has been really good, actually. I mean, I think that, on the good side, it's like people are really engaging with the project, and people are really, really interested in the fact that it's unique. The delivery system is unique. The interactivity is unique.
Yeah.
So it's been really good. Like, people are really, really loving it, and we're getting lots of great emails.
Excellent.
Yeah, and we've had there's been a lot of media interest.
There has. Yeah. I felt bad afterwards because I'm like, we're just a small little blog. Look at all this attention they're getting.
No, I mean it's been really good that people have been into it, and there's been sites popping up with people really getting into it.
I've seen that.
Yeah, which is really cool, and we really want to encourage that because it's good. I think that in terms of breaking it out, I mean, obviously we don't have a huge amount of money for publicity.
Right.
It's always the problem on anything, and so we're trying to be smart, and we're trying to really make it come together and do a grassroots push.
Yeah.
I think probably the hardest thing at this phase right now is that a lot of people pick it up and they get it right away, but there's still a learning curve because it's a unique way.
Yeah.
And I know people who have started watching it and didn't think to actually do the searching of the content. You know what I mean? And it's like...
And then I got the Googling down, and then the freaking Keystone came along. And
Yeah.
So I was trying to Google stuff, and I'm like, oh no, the Keystone.
Yeah. So, I mean, it can be, I think that it's... I mean, the nice thing is that you can watch it and not do any of that stuff and still enjoy it. But the fact is that it's I think that anything that is a... So every time you can't just say, hey, you got to watch this great show. I mean, if you make a movie, it's everybody gets it. They know what a movie is. You rent it, or you go out and you see it, or whatever it is. You tune in when it's on TV. But this one, so it's every time you get somebody to sign up, it's you kind of have to give them the spiel, and it's there's 5 points you must know. And so it really isn't that complicated. I think if you just sign up and you start watching, it starts to become clear. Yeah. But it's still... it's like a continual education process. It's this is what a television is, and you put it in your home. No, really, it's kind of there's a little bit.
And I like that each episode starts with what you could have done from the last one. It's well, we typed this into Google. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, I can type that into Google.
Yeah.
Pause. I can do this myself.
Well, exactly, and I think that I hope that people will get it, and I think as people pick up on that. And are able to see that interactivity and the possibilities. Like my nephew and niece, who are 14 and 10, and I never really considered them to be the part of the audience, but it's it blew their mind when they could do. They were like, wait, okay, I saw that in the thing, and now I can Google it, and it'll actually take me there.
Yeah.
There's a whole website I can look
Yeah,
up
yeah,
stuff
like
on.
they love it, right? They
It's
love
so
that
awesome.
interactivity. They just can't get over it, and I think that that's really cool. And so I think that it's so like I said, the reactions have been amazing. It's like really, really positive reactions. It's just the big question is getting more and more people to
Getting out there,
understand
yeah.
it and
Yeah.
how to use it. You know.
There's so much fun. I mean, I downloaded Shazam for the first time last night because of the episode in India where he's recording the song. I'm like, I don't have that. Let's get that right now. We'll hold it to the television and oh, look at that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
you say that because Shazam. So Shazam, like I had this idea, like what if one of the clues was a song and then you Shazam it and blah blah blah. And I thought that's a cool way. And then if you go and then you Google the band and et cetera, et cetera.
Send the email.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
this
it's
is
like
so awesome.
yeah, that one is actually probably the most complicated clue. But what was really cool was that I emailed Shazam and I said, guys, like this is what I want to do because I actually emailed them and I just said like, how long does it take to process a song to get it on? And they said, well, they could take a long time. I think it can take probably quite a while because they got a pretty big. So I just emailed them and I told them what we were doing and I said like, do you think you could kind of just get it on there for us because it's like and they were like, yeah, sure. And so they were like so receptive. They were amazing and they were so
cool.
nice and so it was really great and so it is cool. So
Yeah.
So they were like everybody was so into it actually.
It's almost a game changer in the way that it's put out there because there's nothing like it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that, and it literally just popped into my head, is it's like the Choose Your Own Adventure books from the 1980s. It was a game changer then. This is kind of a game changer now. More interactivity with what you're watching, and I love it. I mean, I Google everything now. I'm like, let's look up this. What if that means something? It's just it's so much fun. Which leads, of course, to the idea is Trevor and Sandy coming back for season 2?
Well, I sincerely hope so.
Give me something. I mean, there's got to be so much more out there to even look at.
Well, I think that I think that we certainly hope so. So we've actually had one of our backers I want to get into specifics because the news actually just came in today, but one of our backers is interested in us talking to them about a second season. So that's really encouraging. And I would love to make a second season and have these guys come back.
Now, would it be a completely new mystery? Would it constitute changing the name of the series?
No, it'll continue on. We always thought of this as a trilogy, actually.
Okay.
So there are kind of two parts to this as it
Nice.
goes on. So I think the fact is that I would very much like to keep it going.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, when episode 50 or whatever it is rolls around and it's done, I'm going to be like, I need more. I want it now.
I hope there's some sort of condolence email that you get a few days after.
That's all.
I haven't heard from Guidestones in a while.
Trevor and Sandy are fine. And
There is actually a bunch of people who talk about like the Guidestones withdrawal afterwards. That it's like
terrific.
because it's a long time, right? You're watching for a long time,
Oh,
yeah.
and you get really attached,
Yeah.
and that people who are like, oh, there's no Guidestones
Yeah.
today,
Come
it's
on,
like,
yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
there was
but-
one day where you didn't get your email till late in the day.
yeah,
and you're
I was
like,
starting to Jones for it. I'm like, come
every single
on.
text he got or every single notification on his phone, he pulled it out and checked. No, it's not
That's
them.
good.
It's not
Just-
them.
yeah.
I mean, the thing that's really cool too is that if we are able to build a second and a third season or whatever and continue on, is that the whole thing is there forever, right? Like
Yeah.
because of this delivery method, it's like Guidestones will be there forever.
Yeah.
Like we don't even know when it's going to reach its popularity.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I hope that it's sooner rather than later, but but you never know, right? Like in terms of that's the exciting thing about it. I think is that it's not like it can be fresh all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be
And-
fresh for whoever comes to it next. And
And it's not just going to get buried under like
Yeah.
this year's new DVDs or whatever. It's like it's kind
Yeah.
of there,
Yeah.
and so that's really cool. And so if we have a second season and a third season, they can just
man.
exist right beside each
Yeah.
other, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of have this like, okay, for the next however number of weeks, I can just kind of keep traveling down the path.
That would be
you know,
awesome.
which is great. Yeah.
Well, then to wrap up, what's next on the plate for you guys? I mean, you've got ads now on national ads, which
Yeah.
are good.
That's great. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. It's good for paying my rent too, which is nice.
Which is key.
Yeah. You know, you know what? I'm headed to Peru in less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just kind of like an impromptu thing that I decided to do. And I'm going to be headed to the jungle for a week.
Do it.
This retreat, little oasis in the middle of the mountains that I'm going to go to for about a week, and then go visit some ruins.
Cool.
And see if I can tap into the energy of our ancestors there. And see what they're-
Now
see
I
what
don't want to
they're
be your
talking
friend
about.
anymore because now I hate you.
Oh, no.
That's just I would give for that. My fedora would get such a workout. For that. That's brilliant.
I love Peru. Actually, I didn't know you were going. I've been before, and we should talk about Peru because it's. I actually really want to do some Guidestone stuff in Peru.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, let me know. Maybe you could write some vlogs and I'll just shoot myself while I'm down.
Sure. That's awesome. And Jay, what else you got going? What do you got?
So, I mean, well, as of today, now we're starting to talk more and more about season 2.
Wow.
But so that's one thing. But I mean, I'm always working. I do a lot of shooting and directing commercials. So it's like, again, it's like when we're not working on our passion projects like Guidestones, we're like.
You're making a
day
living.
jobs.
Yeah. Everybody knows that, and so there's always a lot of that. So there's a constant balancing the two. But probably the thing that I'm spending the most time on now is really just pushing this beast.
Right.
It's like we're trying to build every possible way we can to reach audiences, and so that's like the true test of this, in a way, experiment. Is going to be whether we can reach audiences.
Yeah.
And if we can reach audiences, then we can make more.
Okay.
And it's true. Like, I mean, it's just that simple, right?
Yeah.
And I think that our numbers are pretty good right now, but we need to keep building them and so hopefully.
And you can access it from all over the world, so
Exactly,
it's just a matter of
yeah.
getting the word out.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And it's like, so it's like, in many ways, that's what my... I remember when we sort of wrapped it and we went live, and it was like, it's live now, and I remember thinking like, wow, maybe I can relax for a bit, and it was like, I
Now the
realized,
work
no,
starts.
actually, it's like actually the hardest part now is going to be just slogging it out and promoting it and getting people to know about it and find
That's like
out
us when
about
we
it.
wrote our books. It was like, oh, I've self-published a novel, and now I can sit.
I'm gonna sit back and watch the royalty checks roll in.
Yeah.
And
keep working.
although it's the same with the blog too. It's like, we can just do this and we'll coast on this post for a couple days, but no, it's like every day.
No,
So,
it's true.
yeah,
it's like it's continual.
yeah.
I mean, unless you have a giant machine behind you, it's like you've got to push it. And so it's like this is. I mean, I really do feel that like I feel like kind of on every level, I feel like this project is successful. Like in my mind, anyways.
Yeah.
Probably for some people it isn't, but for me it really is. I just think that the storytelling is great. I think that the distribution method is interesting. I think that the interactivity is very unique, and I agree with you. I think it's like unlike anything else that's out there. We have used different methods to raise some financing through brand integration, which I think is done in a decent way.
Very cool.
And so there's all that stuff, and so the only thing missing right now is the audience, and not that the audience is missing, but what I mean is like that kind of group or enough people big enough to say like, okay, we can do this again, and it's and we can really make this happen. It's proof of concept, and so I think it's all there. And now my job is just to try and make it known out there. So
It'll be like little pockets of people that just start
totally
discovering it, and then they'll tell 2 friends and so on.
Well, exactly, and that's like really important to us. Like honestly, it's like that is like I really it's really every single person who signs up is like I think of as like an extremely important client.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it's like every email we get from everybody about whether it's somebody saying that they like this or saying that they have a complaint about that. Like it's like we really look into it in depth. Like we really like. There's a couple of things that people point out, and you go like, oh, that's a really good point, and we go in and we change the system based on it.
Nice.
We really try to react to everybody. So it's like. My sister has a friend who's doing it, and she was having a problem. She just wasn't receiving emails for some reason, which can sometimes happen in the weirdness of the internet world. and she was like, oh, I didn't want to bother your brother about this. And I'm like, no, like, bother me about it. Every email that's sent, I read. I get to see them all. And so, because it's really, really, like, when I get an email that says, like, oh, you know, this isn't right, and it's like, on a Friday, it'll ruin my weekend, because I'll be going like, oh, like, this person isn't getting the full thing, and I really will, like, it really does, because I want it to be perfect for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect for everybody, because, like, it's whatever, there's always things that pop up, but it's like, it really is at that, like, it is. It's like, you put so much effort into this.
Do you want me
thing.
to come over?
Yeah, seriously.
I'll explain it,
Yeah, please let me help you.
That is awesome. And yeah, a great place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So we had Jay Ferguson, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Subinder, who's left. And Dan, thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you very much for having us.
And of course, on my left, Sue Maynard.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Dear Red, if you're reading this, you've gotten out. And if you've come this far, maybe you're willing to come a little further. You remember the name of the town, don't you?
Zihuatanejo.
I could use a good man to help me get my project on wheels. I'll keep an eye out for you, and the chessboard ready. Remember, Red, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. I will be hoping that this letter finds you, and finds you well. Your friend, Andy.